Hi everyone, and welcome to our latest ATTA webinar, entitled Ker Downey Botswana, Safaris Steeped in Heritage. Today, Fran Hird, Managing Director of Ker Downey Botswana, will introduce us to a new era of this heritage safari brand. Ker Downey is committed to providing guests with the highest quality wildlife and adventure safari experience, whilst preserving the delicate environment and natural beauty of Botswana. The prestigious and complementary portfolio includes the newly renovated Shinde, Dinaka, Shinde Enclave Kanana, and Okuti across the Okavango Delta and Kalahari Reserve regions. So just a little bit of housekeeping before I let Francesca take over. For anyone who has some internet connection issues, please rest assured that the webinar is recorded entirely, and we will be sending the webinar to everyone after the webinar. And if you have any questions, please make sure to write them in the Q&A box instead of the chat box below, please. That's it. So, Francesca, that said, over to you for a presentation.
Thank you so much for the intro, Sarah, and thank you, ATTA, for setting up the webinar today. I'd also like to thank you, the audience, for tuning in from all over the world. It's great to see the support, and I hope that you enjoy my webinar today. So I'm actually going to begin with a little bit of an intro to Botswana. For those of you that are new to selling Botswana, it's a country that's actually the size of France, yet it only has a population of 2 million. So it's also got a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's one of the last true wildernesses in the world. And the topography in Botswana is very flat. So for those of you that have visited, you will have seen the vistas, very, very flat, semi-arid Kalahari desert style. And then you have the Okavango Delta, which is the wetter areas of the country. In northern Botswana, it's very, very important in terms of wildlife. It's got one of the largest populations of African wild dog. And as many of you know, they are very endangered. And then Chobe National Park, the highest concentration of African elephants. So these are some of the reasons why your guests may want to come out to Botswana. It's also very interesting on an archaeological aspect. As of late, we've seen more and more articles coming out about how it actually might be the birthplace of humankind. It gained independence in 1966, and to this day, it's really marked as one of the most democratic African countries, very little corruption, very safe, a really shining star in the African continent in terms of its politics and policies. So how do you get to Botswana? So access into Botswana is either by air or by road. So by air, your guests would typically be flying into Maun Airport or into Kasane. Into Maun Airport, there's daily flights, typically when we don't have Corona to be dealing with, there's normally daily flights from both Cape Town and Johannesburg. If you're going to have guests traveling in by road, they can come in from Victoria Falls or Livingstone. And Botswana's ideally positioned to be able to be combined with Cape Town, whether you're wanting to do the wine route, garden route, and then also with Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Many of our guests will be going and visiting Victoria Falls, so often this is included in an itinerary. The flights that arrive into Botswana, into Maun, are really great in terms of connectivity into the bush. So these flights are arriving around lunchtime, which means your guests can then hop onto the light aircraft and then into the wilderness regions, whether it's into the Delta itself, Saruti, going to the Makgadikgadi or down into the Kalahari. They're all able to fly in the afternoons and get your guests into those camps and lodges, often by high tea or at least by nightfall. There's also road transfers that go across from Victoria Falls and Livingstone. These are very easy to get through the border posts. It normally takes a few hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours maximum, to get from Kasane Airport across to Livingstone or Victoria Falls. And of course, you've got those international connecting flights that are going into those regional airports as well. Carrying on further with access, we have Safari Air, which is our sister company. It's a charter company, so they have the small aircraft, they have air vans and Cessna caravans. And this enables us to get our guests from Maun or Kasane into all of the Ker Downey properties. This is really great because it means that we have control of this experience of our guests from the moment that they're arriving into the country. We're there to welcome them, doing meet and greet, escort them onto their small aircrafts. And for those of you that have been in the little planes in Botswana, it really is part of the experience. It's incredible to see the town turn into these wilderness areas. Within 5 minutes of being up in the air, you can be game viewing. In terms of seasonality in Botswana, I like to simplify it a bit. You can make it really complicated if you want to, but to keep it simple, we basically have a dry season and a green season, a rainy season. The rainy season is summertime, so that's mainly January, February. That's when we're getting our rains. In terms of water in Botswana, it's an interesting element. So how I like to explain it is our dry season is when all the water is on the ground. So we've got the flood arriving during the dry season. During the green season is when the flood actually retracts back, but yet we have water in the sky. So we have rain coming down. So that's how we define the different seasons. And in terms of when your guests want to travel, it really depends on what they want to get out of their experience. So the advantages of the dry season are it's a little bit easier in terms of game viewing because the bush has died back a little bit during the drier months. But yet in green season, you've got amazing migratory birds. For keen photographers, the green season is often the time of year that they're wanting to get into Botswana. So each time of year has its advantages. And also budget-wise, you know, our peak season and our green season rates vary significantly, and that's industry-wide. So that was a little intro to the destination. Now moving on to Ker Downey Botswana. So we've been operating for over 50 years within the country, so a very well-established brand. And we're part of Chobe Holdings, which is 100% locally owned and run in Botswana. As I already mentioned, Safari Air is our sister company. Our other sisters that you may have heard of is Chobe Game Lodge and also Desert and Delta Safaris. And we really see ourselves as the custodians of the areas that we operate in. And we're very committed to our environmental policies and also in terms of our social commitments. So our commitments to the local communities and social development through our staff, that's really at the core of what we do here at Ker Downey Botswana. So I have a little video just to get us all into that safari mind frame. Please don't worry, if the video doesn't work, it will be on the recording, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to work. So enjoy. It's less than a minute long, but it's going to transport us into that Botswana wilderness area. So I'd like to introduce our properties to you. We have Shinde and Kanana that are our private concessions. We have Okuti, which is in the world-renowned Moremi Game Reserve. We have Footsteps, which is our little rustic adventure camp. And then we have Dinaka, which is the newest property to our portfolio, and that's down in the Central Kalahari. You'll see this map throughout my presentation. I'll keep referring back to it just so that you can align yourself with the geography. But most of our camps are in the Okavango Delta, and then Dinaka is the property that's down in the Central Kalahari. So this is just an overview of our properties. We are a 5-star brand. We operate very small, intimate properties. As you can see here, we have a maximum of 8 tents in most of our camps. We do have a couple of properties that are even more intimate than that. So Shindi Enclave and the Footsteps camp only have 3 tents, so we take maximum of 6 people there. So this is the ultimate in exclusive experience in Botswana. And then here we have Okuti and Dinaka, and some of their unique selling points, which I will go through in my presentation. And then Footsteps Camp. So this is the little rustic adventure camp. We do 2 different safaris from here. So we have Young Explorers, which is our specialist family safari. And then we have Footsteps Across the Delta, which is our specialist walking safari. It's quite unorthodox to bring up rates so early in a presentation. However, this is one of our unique selling points. We are a 5-star brand offering incredible exclusivity with what I think we can arguably say is quite affordable rates. Botswana is an expensive destination because of its exclusivity, but with our packages, we've really tried to make it more affordable for guests to get out here. What's really lovely about our safari packages is every single package that's booked, a contribution of it goes to our corporate social responsibility project, which is Bana Baletsatsi. Bana Baletsatsi is a children's centre here in Maun that looks after vulnerable children. It offers counselling and all sorts of after-school activities for them. We're very much involved in Bana Baletsatsi, so every guest that's booked onto a package is also contributing to that amazing cause. Another unique selling point of Ker Downey, and this is across the whole portfolio, is our vehicle policy. So we guarantee a maximum of 4 people on a game drive on a vehicle. As you can see from this slide here, each window seat has a camera mount. So we're guaranteeing window seats, we're guaranteeing camera mounts, we're guaranteeing a lot of flexibility when you have a maximum of 4 people on your game drive vehicle. So now onto the properties themselves. I would like to first off take you to Kanana. So you can access Kanana by air. It has its own private airstrip. So you can fly in either from Maun or Kasane. If you're flying from Maun, it's about a 25-minute flight. So Kanana is a private concession, which means that you have the exclusivity, you have the whole place to yourself. And it was refurbished at the beginning of last year. So it has a very classic, authentic safari style to it, very luxurious. So this is the main area. It's built in a horseshoe shape around an ancient fig tree in the middle. And when we did the refurbishment, we really tried to focus on making it very comfortable for the guest. And how we like to host guests is to really make them feel at home and part of the family. So these are the tents. This camp is completely off the grid. All of our camps are completely off the grid. This one is 100% solar powered. So you've got your 2 fans, you've got beautiful views over a seasonal floodplain, and then your ensuite bathrooms. Everything you could imagine in a 5-star tent, from kakois to beautiful toiletries, to your sherry in the evening when you get home after your dinner. So I popped this slide in the presentation just to bring up water levels. And for those of you that are currently selling Botswana, you'll know that water levels are a hot topic for us. And the flood, and are we having a drought? Is it a good flood season? So we have just come out of a drought period for the last few years. But this year in 2020, we've received really good water levels. So it's a very exciting time of year in Botswana at the moment. So this slide that you see here, this is of Kanana. You've got the main area at the left and then the rooms off to the right. And this is where it was at its driest in about August last year. So the next slide I'm going to show you is of the camp, and we took these photos in the last few weeks. So as you can see at the top corner there, the boats are actually pulling up in front of the main area. So it's totally transformed into a water oasis. And then on the left-hand side, you have our heronry, which is an amazing experience to get out there on the boats. So the heronry is one of the unique selling points of Kanana. Of course, we have other fantastic wildlife, got great predator interaction there, but the heronry is something quite different. It's one of the largest in Southern Africa, and this is an area where the birds come to breed. This slide here is of a pinkback pelican. So the guest experience is that you head out on the boats and the makorals and you can see these birds building their nests, raising their young. It really does convert even a non-birder into a keen twitcher. In terms of activities, we offer both land and water-based activities. So you can head out on the boats and the makoros. And for those of you that are new to Botswana, makoros are the dugout, traditionally wooden canoes. It's the traditional form of transport around the delta. And we can also offer fishing from Kanana. Then when you're out on the land, we also do game drives, we do night drives, and you can also do walking safaris. Another unique offering at Kanana is the Sleepout Deck. So here you can head out after dinner on a night drive with your guide, and you'll come across the Sleepout platform all lit up with the lanterns. You spend the night out under the stars, and then in the morning you head back to camp for breakfast. It really is a mind-blowing experience to sleep beneath African skies and also to see the sunrise in the morning. And from the Sleepout Deck, we positioned it so you don't even have to lift your head off the pillow to see the sun breaking the horizon in the mornings. So just to touch on the unique points about Kanana, it's a private concession, incredible wildlife, both on land and aquatic species. We have the Sleepout Deck, and if you want to book the Sleepout Deck, you just need to book 3 or more nights in camp. It's a great value add because it's no extra charge. We're also able to do these water-based and land-based activities right the way through the year. Then we have the heronry as mentioned, and this season runs from June right the way through to December. We recently refurbished it at the beginning of the year, so everything's looking at the beginning of last year, so everything's looking all beautiful and new. And it's got the highest eco grading possible in Botswana. There's very few properties that have the top level grading, and it's graded ecotourism. So that was Kanana. Then moving on to Shindi. So I'm just going to show you the map again. If you can see Shindi a bit further north, the other side of Chief's Island. So Shindi again is a 5-star property, offering the full range of activities. We're actually rebuilding Shindi at the moment. We started at the beginning of the year redoing the entire camp. We're also rebuilding Shinde Enclave. And Shinde Enclave is a camp within a camp. And Shinde Enclave we offer for small groups of friends or family that want even more exclusivity. So it consists of 3 tents, and we can take a maximum of 6 people there. So the rebuild has gone really well. I've actually spent the last 3 months out on site, and we were almost there. Unfortunately, Corona delayed us a little bit, putting us in lockdown, delayed getting the final materials up into camp. So we're just waiting for our furniture now. It will go in the next few weeks, but we will definitely be ready before anybody can travel to Botswana. So Shindi is actually one of the oldest properties in the Okavango Delta. It's prime real estate, it's prime wildlife area. It's very, very beautiful. And because we got involved in tourism way back when, over 50 years ago, we were able to secure this site for ourselves. It's got a really healthy population of leopard. That's probably your most common predator sighting, although we often see wild dog, lion, cheetah. I was there last week on the build site, and we actually had a cheetah wandering in front of camp. So it's a very game-rich area. Really lovely to be able to offer the contrast of land and water-based activities. So here again, we're able to go out on the channels. This is permanent water that you see here. If we don't have water at our camps, it means there is no delta. So you can be selling this to guests traveling in 2021, 2022, and we will be able to guarantee these water-based activities. So going on to the rebuild itself, this is just the mood board of what we're aiming for. Very classic, luxurious, kind of like 1920s explorer style. So all of the tents have been redone, all of the main areas been redone. And the main area is actually built in a treehouse style. So it's built on lots of different levels with an amazing view over permanent water. We're going to have 2 different dining options, so you can dine inside or outside on the star deck. There'll be 2 different lounges. This is the small studio style lounge, and then we have a larger lounge, all with views over the permanent lagoon. So just a few of the unique selling points of Shindi. It's a private concession, incredible wildlife area. It's really, really game rich. The main area is built in a treehouse style on lots of different levels. We have an incredible pool overlooking a permanent channel. It's also going to be 100% solar. And another great thing, we've rebuilt this beautiful camp, but we're not increasing the rates at all. So that was Shindi. Moving on from Shindi, we're going to go to Footsteps. And this is our rustic adventure camp. So very different to the 5-star properties. It's a real nugget of adventure in a 5-star itinerary. Many of our guests that come to Footsteps will be doing other 5-star properties in their itinerary, and they're wanting something a little bit more adventurous, a little bit more off the beaten track. So from the Footsteps camp, you will access it via the Shindi private airstrip, and your adventure really begins the moment the aircraft wheels touch down on the airstrip. You'll be met by your guide who will host you right the way through your time in camp, and then you'll head off to camp. During certain times of year, we actually have to do a Mokoro crossing to get into camp when the water levels are high. So you get to experience that on your first afternoon in the area. So we have our walking safari, which is Footsteps across the Delta, and the minimum age is 16. This is really aimed at adults. And then we have Young Explorers, which is our specialist family safari. And with the family safari, you get exclusive use of the camp. So it's only you and your family there. So what this means is we're never mixing a family safari and a walking safari. It's either or out of the one camp. So I'm going to start with the walking safari. And this is camp. So it's got the 3 tents, very much barefoot luxury, get your toes in the sand, very, very intimate experience, amazing staff, 5-star service, 5-star guiding. You are guided by a specialist walking guide. It'll either be Opie or Noah, he's our other specialist guide, and they will take you out on morning and afternoon walks. It's very much tailor-made to the individual guests in camp at that time. There's a lot of flexibility, and what we've also noticed is that there's a different ebb and flow to this type of safari. So maybe on the first afternoon or their first morning in camp, they'd like to go out for a really long walk, experience the area, and then after they've got the walking out of their system and they've really explored the area, they can also have a go at fishing or Mokoroing. They can also do night drives and game drives. But as I say, the focus really is on getting out on foot. So these are the tents, much more basic, more rustic, but still all your creature comforts, proper beds, proper linen. You have a hot water bush shower. The food is amazing, and you can go and do a back of house tour where you can meet the chef, Memo. He cooks everything on a campfire. It's incredible. You can go and see where your high tea lemon drizzle cake came from, and you'll see that it's in a bush oven cooked on the fire. Then moving on to Young Explorers. So the minimum age for Young Explorers is 7. It's also really tailor-made to the different ages and interests in camp, so it's also ideal for teenagers. We've actually, in fact, done a Young Explorers, and the kids were in their early 20s. Everybody has an inner child in them, and the activities that we do on the family safari are just so much fun. The whole family wants to get involved. And we really do see it as a family safari. It's not just about the children, it's about getting every single family member involved and creating these shared memories and these shared experiences as a family unit. So I have another little video, and the video illustrates it way better than I can explain. There's just so much fun to be had on this family safari. At Ker Downey, we've been doing family safaris for decades, and we really want to open up the destinations to families. So at the Footsteps camp, we have a family tent that you can see on this slide here. So it consists of 2 bedrooms and then the shared ensuite bathroom. We actually have a family tent at every single one of our properties, and all of these family tents can sleep up to a maximum of 5 people. So we can have 3 kiddies in the 2nd bedroom, and then you still have the master bedroom. So some of the key points about the Footsteps camp. So it's one camp with 2 different safari offerings. We have the walking safari, Footsteps across the Delta, then we have the family safari, Young Explorers. From Footsteps, we're now going to move into the Moremi Game Reserve to Okuti. And for those of you that are selling Botswana, you'll know that the Moremi Game Reserve is often on a guest's bucket list. It's really a world-renowned wildlife area, and this is why it holds the highest level of protection within Botswana, being a game reserve. So Okuti is a slightly smaller camp. We have 7 tents, and we have 2 family tents at Okuti. Really unique architecture and style to the camp. And in terms of activities, we're able to offer game drives. So you can head out into the Moremi Game Reserve. It's a very diverse environment. So you can head out on one morning game drive. You can be going to hippo pools, or you can go to Dead Tree Island. You can go to grassland areas where you've got good chances of seeing cheetah. So it's very, very diverse. It's very photogenic. It's really beautiful. And then we also offer water-based activities. So we're able to go out on the boats, we explore the channels, we also have the Kakanika Lagoon. So one of my personal favorites, and what I'll always recommend to guests when they're in camp, is that they head out on a boat in the afternoon and they can enjoy a sundowner at the lagoon. It's really breathtaking to be sat there. The water looks like a mirror, like glass. You've got the sun setting, you've got the birds flying overhead coming into roost for the night. It really, really is a special experience. So this is the dining area. We've also got a pool, a lounge area, and then a fire deck at the front of camp. And what's really lovely about the location of the camp itself is it's along the Monachera River. So this is a channel. It's one of the main channels of the Delta. So whether you're in your room or you're at the main area, you have that water element and you have that channel flowing in front of wherever you are. So these are the rooms, really big and spacious. I think they might be some of the biggest rooms in the Delta. Fantastic views of that channel. At night, you could fall asleep hearing the hippos munching the grass outside your room. And during the day, if you're really lucky, you might see the elephants crossing over the channel. Really great for honeymooners, very romantic. This is the honeymoon suite. We have the outdoor bathtub here. Every room has an indoor and outdoor shower. And with honeymooners, just touching on that a little bit more, we really like to make their experience unique. So we'll always offer a private dinner for them. And we have a much more flexible itinerary. So with us, we really feel that the guests are deciding what they want to do when they want to do it. So in the case of honeymooners, if they want to have a lazy morning, they can, and they can always head out on their activities a little bit later on. You are on holiday after all. So some of the a few of the key points about Okuti, it's in the Moremi Game Reserve, which is world-renowned, fantastic wildlife experience. If we've got guests that are staying there for 3 nights or more, we will often encourage them to go and do a full day trip. The area is so vast. You've got so many areas to go and explore and see when you're out on a game drive. So from Okuti, we're now going to leave the Okavango Delta and we're going to head down to the Central Kalahari, to Dinaka. So just to give you an idea of travel time, it'll take you about 50 minutes to get from Shindi down to Dinaka, and Safari Air do offer direct flights down to the destination. So Dinaka is a private conservancy, so it's our own private land that we operate within. We also have our own private airstrip. If you do have any self-drive guests, they are able to access both Dinaka and Okuti by land, by driving. So I'd just like to introduce you to the Central Kalahari. It's very different to the Delta. It's an incredibly rich wildlife area. It's very different. It's harsh. It's quite intense. So this little video is going to introduce you to the area. Enjoy. So we took over Dinaka in 2017 and we completely rebuilt all of the rooms and we did a huge facelift to the main area. And then we welcomed our first guests in March 2018. It's really great adding this type of property to our portfolio. And it's a great contrast to the camps that we have up in the Delta. So the camp itself is located around a permanent waterhole. We have wildlife visiting this waterhole right the way through the day. So going down to Dinaka, you can either do this at the beginning or the end of an itinerary. All of our camps really combine really well together. You can do them in different orders, any order. They're all at the same level. But at Dinaka, it's got that amazing wildlife hit to be your first property that you go to. It's also got a slower pace as well, if you would like to choose that. And an example of this is sitting in the main area, watching the wildlife literally come to you in camp. You don't even have to leave the deck of your room. So the whole of the camp is looking over this permanent waterhole. That's the focal point, both the rooms and the main area. And then in terms of the dining experience, we really like to mix it up at Ker Downey. So each day we're offering something different for our guests. So you can dine here out under the stars. We also do private dinners for honeymoon couples or anniversaries, any kind of special occasion, just communicate that to us. Our staff on the ground literally love to make a song and dance about any kind of celebration. So help us make that happen for your guests. And then these are the rooms. So they are thatched, which helps with the harsh climate of the Kalahari. So during the summer, it can get quite hot, and then in the winter, pretty chilly. This is the family room. So again, we've got the 2 bedrooms and then the shared ensuite bathroom, indoor and outdoor showers. And actually the showers have a view of that waterhole as well. But don't worry, it's only the kudus that can see you when you're in the outside shower, nobody else. And in terms of what's on offer out in the Conservancy, we've got really unique structures. So this is the lookout deck. It's at the highest point of the Conservancy, and we'll often head out here for sundowners. If you are good at early mornings and you'd like to take your coffee out there, I'm not so good at early mornings, so I definitely recommend a G&T from this lookout deck. You can almost see the curvature of the earth from this vantage point. We also have a sleepout deck. So this is a different structure. You're able to book the sleepout deck. If you book 3 or more nights in camp, there's no extra charge for it. Here it's set up for a couple, but we can also take families at both the Kanana and the Dinaka sleepout decks. And how it works is your room is left for you. So if you do need to go back, you can. The guide does stay out there. He's got his own little dome tent a distance away. You're in contact with him with a 2-way radio just in case you do need him. It's located about 20-25 minutes away from camps. It's really beautiful and remote. And what I like to do when I stay at the sleepout deck is in the mornings actually look over the edge and see what wildlife has walked underneath the deck during the night. We also have the photographic bunker. Amazing for keen photographers. You're getting that money shot where you're eyeball to eyeball with your subject. The water is just a mere couple of meters in front of you. We get a lot of game coming down here, so you can get amazing photographs of them. The wildlife can actually smell you. They can't really see you. Sometimes they can hear you if you don't keep your voices down. So that means that you get these incredible shots where the wildlife is looking quite alert. And then if you're patient, they relax and they come down to the water. So you can get some really great photographs with the reflection of maybe a lion or a kudu from that water. There's also amazing bird life in the area. There's clouds of quelea during the drier months, and there's jackal that hang out in this spot, and they've got quite a unique hunting tactic. Instead of trying to pluck the birds out of the sky when they come down to drink, they actually chase the birds into the water, and then they swim in the water and they get their little snack. So really, really incredible interaction that you can see from this photographic bunker. And it's very flexible how you use it. So you can use it during your activity time if you like. You can also head back there during siesta time. Whenever you'd like to go down there, the guides can take you down. We've actually seen that the wildlife in this area congregates around the waterholes. So a lot of our activities are spent at the waterholes, whether you're in this underground photographic bunker. We've also got another hide as well. And you get some amazing photographs when the wildlife comes down to drink. It's a very harsh, dry area, so they're having to drink every day. And you're seeing different species that you don't typically get up in the delta. So like your eland, your oryx, your springbok, your brown hyena, even this little guy wanted to get in the action. In terms of activities, we do the traditional game drives. We can also do night drives. And just something to note on our night drives, we do proper night drives. We actually head out after dinner when it's dark, so you can go and experience the nocturnal species that are coming out at that time. We also do walking safaris. I really believe that the highlight activity at Dinaka is our educational walk with the Sand Bushmen. It's really, really unique. It's a cultural exchange, and it's an incredible culture that you can learn about. This is kind of where we all came from, and their survival skills and their knowledge of the bush is just mind-blowing. So you can head out. We'll often do it in the morning. Head out on a walk with the guides. You've got Guma or Kumsa or Vota, and they explain to you the medicinal uses of the plants, how to make fire with friction. And it's very interactive, so you can taste things, smell things. The guides do speak English, so you've got that direct communication with them, and they're exceptionally proud about their culture and their history, and they absolutely love to share it with the guests. In terms of wildlife, I did mention some of the desert species, but we also have the black maned lion in the area. We have a very healthy lion population. Last count, we had about 23 resident lion, so you're seeing them pretty much on a daily basis. So some of the unique selling points about Dinaka is the educational walk with the Sand Bushmen. Really great for families, for everybody. We've often had guests that will head out a couple of times during their time at Dinaka. And then we've got the unique structures. So we've got the hide, we've got the lookout deck, we've got the underground photographic bunker, we've got the Sleepout Deck, and we've got permanent water in the area. So there's a lot of wildlife that congregates around there. During the green season, incredible bird life and wildflowers. So that brings me to the end of my presentation today. I'd just like to touch on one last thing, and that is our staff. They really are the heart and soul of all of our properties. I read most of the guest questionnaires that come out of the camps, and I'd say at least 75% of them will mention our staff and just how accommodating they are and how much attention to detail is paid and how we make our guests feel at home, very relaxed environment when you're in camp. So this last little video has some of the faces that you might see when you visit the Ker Downey camps. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. We're now going to head into the Q&A section. I'm just going to leave this last slide up, so if you would like to contact me, there's my email address, fran@kerdowney.bw, or our website. I would also really appreciate if you could follow us on our social media on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fran, for this wonderful presentation. So we'll go ahead now and read out the Q&As. So our first question is, when do you expect the borders to reopen?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Really good question. You know, we just don't know at the moment. In Botswana, we're actually in quite a really fortunate situation. I think the last count of corona cases is just under 80 in the whole country. So we are obviously protecting our borders at the moment. I'm not sure when international travel is going to open up. I think it's the question at the forefront of everyone's minds. We are ready. Whenever guests can travel, our camps are ready. We've actually put caretakers in all of the properties, keeping everything in good condition and clean and tidy. So yeah, as soon as our guests can get here, we're ready to welcome them.
Wonderful, thank you. Now we have a two-part question. Will you have post-COVID specials?
Yes, we are looking at putting specials together for January and February 2021, and they will be published in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much. And are there any SIDC rates that you can forward to Sarah Dory, which I will obviously send you afterwards an email?
Yes, so at the moment, the situation is very fluid here in Botswana at the moment, and we have to abide by all of the government kind of regulations in terms of opening our properties. So we are trying to get everything in line so that we are abiding by all of that, so that we will hopefully be able to open up a property or two of ours in the coming months. And when we do open up those properties, we will have SADC rates available.
Great, thank you for answering that. Is it possible to add hot ballooning over the delta at any of the properties? Hot air ballooning?
Yeah, no, it's not offered from any of our properties. As far as I'm aware, it's further up north in the delta where there may be some operations that offer hot air ballooning, but in the central delta itself, it's not on offer.
Okay, thank you. Does Kanana have Mokoro year-round? Yes,
absolutely. All of our properties that are land and water-based offer the water-based activities right the way through the year. So that's your boating and your mokoroing. The only slight difference to that is your fishing. We do have a closed period in December, January and February where we don't fish. It's a closed season, December, January. Otherwise, we're able to access the heronry also all year round, either by boat or mokoro at Kanana.
Thank you. When do you plan to open your camps, and will they be open as well for the local guests?
Yeah, absolutely. Our camps can be open to our international guests as soon as they can get here. As I mentioned, we're just getting to grips with the requirements to actually be running our camps at the moment. So we're looking in the coming weeks to be able to open the camps back up to the local market. We just want to make sure, you know, we're responsible for all of our guests and also all of our staff in terms of safety. So we want to make sure that we are covering all aspects before we are welcoming guests and putting our staff back into the camps.
Wonderful, thank you. Just, I see people still writing in the chat box. If you can please make use of the Q&A box. Thank you very much. And another two-part question. Do you also offer road transfers, for example, from Maun to Dinaka?
We don't offer road transfers, but we can put you in contact with a third party that's able to offer that service.
Thank you. And do you know how long it would take, the distance?
So to drive from Maun to Dinaka, it will take about 3.5 to 4 hours. It's quite an easy drive as long as you've got a four-wheel drive vehicle. And it's on a single sand track road, so it's quite accessible.
Wonderful, thank you. And now we have a dietary requirement question. Do you accommodate a celiac diet, so strict gluten-free?
Yes, we do. Yes, we're quite comfortable to do that. We get a lot of guests that are either gluten intolerant or celiac, so it's something that we're doing regularly.
Okay, and then there's one question. So somebody noticed that some of the camps only had a curtain at the toilet. Which camps have separate toilets with a door?
So all of our camps have open plan bathrooms. So you've got big open walk-in showers, and then you've got a toilet, and then they all have a double basin. So all of the rooms have the toilets within the bathroom itself.
Wonderful.
But all of the bathrooms are separate to the main bedroom areas.
Okay. And do the sleep out decks have toilets as well?
Yes, both sleepout decks have a toilet and a wash hand basin on the same level where you're sleeping, so you don't need to be going up and down stairs at all. It's on the same level where you are with running water.
And what about the COVID protocols in the camps?
So we've put together a health task team that are addressing all of these elements when we reopen the camps, whether it's from social distancing, which where we operate is quite good for social distancing because it's very small properties. You are out in the open. We will be able to offer private dining. We also have our vehicle policy where it's maximum 4 on a vehicle. So we kind of have that contentious aisle seat already on our vehicles. So we're really looking at all of the factors that are involved in it. As I mentioned, we're responsible for not only the guests that come in, but also our staff as well. So we want to make sure that we are ticking all of those requirements. So in the coming weeks, we will be issuing a document on all of the factors that we will be putting in place once the camps open.
Thank you for answering that. Our next question is, do your long stay specials work with desert and delta properties?
So we have our long stay specials that go up to 9 nights. We're then able to add desert and delta properties on as a third party. And if you are booking with either desert and delta or Ker Downey, you will get the normal STO rate that the property that you are staying at has issued you. So we don't compete with each other in terms of commission levels.
Thank you for answering that. And do you offer combo packages with 2 different camps?
Yes, absolutely. So our packages actually start from 4 nights. So as soon as you're doing any 2 of our properties, it will fall into a package. And our reservations team, part of their job is to make your lives easier. So if you let us know what you're wanting to do, they will always work out the best rate possible for that specific combination or itinerary.
Thank you. And our 2 last questions. When would you say is the best time to go to Dinaka?
Oh gosh, that's quite a loaded question also. It's amazing all year round. The wildlife is there all year round. During the drier months, the bush does die back further, so visibility is a little bit easier and wildlife is congregating around those water sources. During the green season, the wildlife does disperse a little bit more, but it is still there in the area. And then you have the advantage of the incredible bird life during the green season. For those of you that are keen birders in Botswana, you'll know that our bird life is spectacular. It's really colorful, beautiful, interesting behaviors. And then you also have the wildflowers of the Kalahari. So it depends on the individual client's interests and also budget. And then we could always recommend which time of year is best for them to go down to the Kalahari.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering that, Fran. So the last question is Dinaka the only wheelchair-friendly camp?
No, it's not actually. Okuti is also wheelchair accessible, and Shindi to some extent will be wheelchair accessible after the rebuild. What we always like to do is get to grips and understand the individual guests and their needs and their requirements so that we can be well prepared for when they arrive, so that we can make them feel as comfortable as possible when they're in our camps. What we normally do is kind of rule of thumb is if a guest with disabilities is able to get in and out of the small aircraft, of course we will assist them in and out. If they're able to do that, then they're able to come on safari with us to our camps.
Wonderful, thank you. So the questions which have not been answered yet, so Fran will come back to you personally by email. So please rest assured that your questions will be answered. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, Fran, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found it interesting, and please do contact me if you have any questions or feedback. And lastly, I'd just like to wish all of you the best of luck, and we'll be in contact soon.
Thank you, everyone.